Black entrepreneurs are among the fastest growing business owners in Canada, but they receive less than 1% of all venture capital funding. Recent studies suggest that the funding has fallen even further. Here to give her keen insight on the issue is Melissa Allen, founding partner of Capital M Ventures. Melissa, thank you very much for joining us. That's a disturbing number.
Very disturbing. And actually, it's a lot worse than less than 1%. In 2025, Black founders received actually 0.15% of venture capital funding. That's right. It's not a decimal error. 0.15%.
That's a rounding error.
Literally a rounding error, and that's a rounding error, and that's actually down from 0.40% in 2024, and it's the lowest it's been actually in the past 5 years. We saw a high in 2023 of Black founders capturing about 2.27% of all venture capital, and that number has just plummeted with the rollback of DEI.
Is that the sole reason for it? Is that rollback?
I would say that's not the sole reason. I mean, entrepreneurs across the country are experiencing, tighter economic restraints given the economic climate, the socio-political climate, and uncertainty. So that has definitely exacerbated the issue for sure.
Now, with those companies and the funding they received, say in 2023, where you said it was about 2.27%, which is kind of in line with the close to the population,
exactly,
which is ideal. How did they do, those companies? Did they see success comparable to every other venture capital funder or a group that was funded?
Absolutely. I mean, so for example, in 2023, I think it was a very frothy market, you could say. A lot of companies were getting funded. We were still having low interest rates. It was right before, I would say, the economic pullback. And there was a lot of liquidity in the market that contributed really to investing in these founders. And as you're saying, companies were performing extremely well. Everybody was enthusiastic, and the funding was in line with that. And companies still continue to perform quite well. And I would say, even given the economic uncertainty that we're experiencing today, it's just that the funding now is just out of alignment with the performance that we're seeing from these excellent companies.
So these companies are working, and so you said the DEI is helping, but are not is hurting the lack of it. What other issues do you see?
Well, I see.
I know we're in a bit of a tight budget. We're in a bit of a tight financial times, but what else?
Absolutely. So I see, for example, the wider tech ecosystem, as we call, the tech industry in Canada and beyond. We see the fact that they need to go out more into different communities where there are larger Black populations and do a lot of outreach when it comes to providing information and making information about venture capital accessible. I mean, Black founders, a lot of them don't know whether venture capital is right for them, the pros and the cons of it, or even how it works for the business and the implications. And so the tech ecosystem could really go out there and start making information more accessible as a start.
And is that something also that schools should be doing?
I would say so. I mean, that goes hand in hand with entrepreneurship programs that are popping up in a lot of schools these days. I have participated in many of them. I facilitate a lot of workshops in high schools that teach entrepreneurship, especially when it comes to tech. And one piece that is missing is the funding and the financing. So whether that comes from non-dilutive sources like government credits and grants and venture capital funding. So definitely being able to provide that information from an early age up front would go a long way.
Now, and you focus on Black and women of color for your funding. How are you doing with that? Are you finding a struggle to find people to help?
Absolutely not. There is so much incredible Black and women of color talent in the founder and entrepreneurship community. And so at Capital M Ventures, over the past 3 years, we've invested so far into 15 companies, and we're in the process of investing in 2 more. 75% of our portfolio are women of color, about half are Black-led, and we've received co-investment also from BDC Capital and other funders such as BKR Capital. So the demand is there in terms of funds looking to invest in these incredible founders. And there is no shortage of excellent, high-quality startups led by Black and women of color founders.
And are there certain fields that they're stronger in and some they could use more guidance and help in?
Absolutely. I've seen strong representation in the CPG space for women of color, particularly, I would say, food and cosmetics. But now we're starting to see that evolve into really getting into the energy space and energy tech and clean tech. In fact, in 2025, the largest segment of Black founders that were getting funding came from the clean tech and energy
Really?
Industry.
What's leading that? What do you think is leading that?
You know, we have a tendency, as I would say, historically excluded community to see a lot of problems and we have a drive to really solve the bigger problems that really impact us. We've been problem solvers in our community since the beginning of time, right? Mm-hmm. Having to deal with a lot of systemic racism and barriers. So we often see the bigger pictures and have this propensity to want to help contribute to society as a whole. And so I think that's a big driver of it, this vision just to solve these huge problems that we know will impact us and the quality of our lives.
And where are some of the fields where you're finding it's coming up short? You're not seeing the representation is even worse.
No, quite frankly, AI. I mean, there is an a Black female-led AI portfolio company that we have, Oasis Learning. However, on the whole, I'm not seeing as much representation in AI as I'd like. And given the impact that AI is rapidly having, exactly, the more diverse perspectives at the table that are building this technology that serves everybody, that serves billions of people, that look and act and have different cultures, the better. And so I would love to see a drive towards more AI literacy education and really encouraging startups in this space. We have the tools now to make incredible companies. We need to go out there and do that.
And what would you tell another VC? What would you tell them when they're considering this?
I would tell them that there's a multi-billion-dollar, if not trillion-dollar market of untapped potential in this community, in this population. Women of color, Black founders, we are incredibly resilient. We do a lot more with a lot less dollars, and we are driven to success. So we are extremely high potential, and don't count us out because we're going to become one of the biggest demographics contributing to the tech ecosystem in the next decade. All
right, we have to wrap it up there, but Melissa, thank you very much for coming by today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
That was Melissa Allen, founding partner of Capital M Ventures.